On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win on the road, second night of a back-to-back against the Timberwolves. Luka gave us an injury scare. What's the update on him? And then Kyrie Irving is a monster. Talk about all that and more in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
Almost done.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Still can't even help
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being in every day and making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where we let it ride. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter, your one-stop shop for the latest news and analysis on the Dallas Mavericks and the NBA straight to your inbox every day. Check the QR code or click the link in the description. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member, and the post-game prince, the One More Thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
What about the three-man weave this thing? Speaking of three, The Mavericks have 3 wins. 3-1, and it doesn't even feel like they've played a good game. Let's do this.
Three wins, 3-man weave. That means from the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, the Post Game Prodigy. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Nick, I know you've mentioned it 55 times, but where's the old music, Nick?
It's hard to let it ride. I'm not gonna lie. Bring it back, Nick.
Nick, bring it back.
Legitimately not allowed to.
Nick,
Listen, no, Nick's lying. He made the decision on his own because
Nick doesn't want to tell you this is his beat.
Yeah, he made this.
My cousin made this. My cousin made this. No, we legit can't use it because we're on TV now. So.
No, you're about to hear a produced by Nick tag.
Yeah.
About to drop any second.
DJ Van Exel. Today's episode, we'll get into the Mavs getting the win against the Timberwolves. We'll talk about PJ Washington. Great game for him. We'll talk about the bigs, Lively and Gafford playing some good basketball as well. Spencer Dinwiddie getting a bunch of run in this game. Quentin Grimes as well, having a run there and hit a couple of shots. But we got to start here, gentlemen. The Mavs, second night of a back-to-back against the Timberwolves, the best defensive team in the NBA last season. They come out and Anthony Edwards goes off in the first quarter. 24 points. They're draining and bombing threes all over the place. 6 of 8 from 3 in this game. And he finished with 24 points in that first quarter and finishes the game with 37. So he only scored 13 the whole rest of the game. Didn't even score any in the second quarter. And Kyrie Irving beats him to it. 35 points for Kyrie. Carries the way for this team. Hit 6 threes of his own. Was just hitting threes on anybody, any switch, anybody coming at him. Isaac, we saw Kyrie just carry this team. It's exactly what this Mavs team needed.
Oh, it was that third quarter from Kyrie. I mean, we still haven't seen Luka kind of put it all together yet in these first 4 games. He's still struggling, and it's okay to say he's struggling. I know, Nick and Slightly did a hit piece on him last night, but it's okay to say Luka's struggling. And guys, didn't we pray for times like these that man,
you're the pastor.
One day Luka is not going to have to go supernova and we're going to win basketball games one day though. And that day's here. And it's okay, it's fine. Luka's going to be fine. And, but yeah, to see Kyrie do his thing tonight, especially in that third quarter, I mean, what he finished with in the third tonight, cause at one point, I'm like, all right, how many buckets are you going to finish with here? He had 16 points in the third and hit 4 threes, 6 of 10 from the field. And is this a kind of a classic Kyrie? I mean, we saw how many 20-point quarters did we have last year of Kyrie in the third? But he just took it over. He had some big moments late. That's what you got to have from your leader in Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really encouraging team win where I think everybody contributed in a positive way pretty much who was on the court. And Kyrie just, man, I mean, when he's like this, every time he gets to his spot, it feels like it's an automatic bucket. All of his mid-range pull-ups it feels like he's 1 inch from the rim. I don't know how to describe it. When he's going and he's pulling up from the elbow, it feels like when you're watching, he's just about to just put the ball into the, it just Wemby. Feels that automatic. It's insane. But yeah, he was awesome. That's why you go out and you trade for that guy, a guy like
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, because that's what he's capable of doing.
You gave Reggie's line from last year. That was Reggie's line every single game, every single episode. That's why you go. That's why you go trade for Kyrie Irving. That's why you bring a guy in. He was right.
It was a point of contention for a long time about whether or not it would work, and silly thing to talk about.
But it's one of those things where it's like, if you would have said early on in Luka's career, I'm like, hey, we're going to have somebody here coming up in the next few years that at the end of the game, you're going to be completely okay with that guy having the ball instead of Luka. I'd be like, did we really go get that guy? Like, did we actually land that guy in free agency or trade? That seems really hard to do. And I'm not going to lie. There were times tonight, I'm like, Luka, kind of just give it to Kyrie. Like, kind of just let him like kind of run the show late. He's still just trying to find his groove. So he's kind of, it feels like he's forcing it a little bit, but he's trying to get in rhythm so bad. But yeah, especially towards the end when Minnesota was going on their little runs here and there, I was like, all right, let's just kind of let Kyrie run the show.
And we've had the argument in the past. I mean, way in the past. I mean, years and years ago about Zach LaVine as the second star or whoever else. And like, imagine all the different iterations of players that Mavs fans have wanted, that they've, people have talked about that could be the second star. And for it to be Kyrie, for a guy that you are comfortable taking over in the fourth quarter, it's kind of amazing. Looking back, it's an amazing move by Nico Harrison.
They let one go in Christian Wood. So
hey, he never got a chance.
No, he never got the
chance.
Give him a chance.
Give him a chance.
Come on.
The thing with Kyrie is he can score on anybody. There's anybody in front of him. I was reminded of the Anthony Edwards before the playoff series where he was like, I want to pick up Kyrie. And he did pick up Kyrie at the beginning. And I think the same thing happened in this one. He ran out of gas at the end. Anthony Edwards ran out of gas at the end of this game, and Kyrie didn't. Kyrie was able to put it on and really go off in that third quarter. And I think that was a big deal. Like, I think that really swung the game. Anthony Edwards may have dealt with some leg or knee injury. Like, he was holding his leg in a weird way towards the end of this game, but I thought Kyrie outplayed him definitely in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give Anthony Edwards some bail here. He had two separate ankle injuries and then a groin injury over the course of the first 3 quarters of this game. So I'll give him some bail there. But yeah, I mean, this is something Anthony Edwards is going to have to figure out if he is to take that leap into the stratosphere that some people, honestly, myself included, think that he can get to. It's just getting over this little hump.
The way he said some people, I was like, oh.
No. I think he could be that guy as well.
He is pretty dang good. That first quarter, I was like, this is just dumb. Like, just stop. And even some of those last threes that he hit, I mean, they were hands in the face. They weren't all wide open. But, yeah, I mean, their second star on their team, too, Rudy Gobert, had a big night.
I don't even know what he did.
He did not have a big night. No, but it was led by Kyrie. Kyrie made it happen. 35 points. He had 5 assists. Finished out the game. But if we're just talking about who helped win this game, like Luka did, for all we're talking about with Luka, he did shoot 37%, 10 of 27 for the field, 24 points for Luka. But he had some tough clutch buckets late, like just some really big ones. The 32 foot, that's official. That's what the official distance was. 32-foot 3 that bombed, made it 117 to 109 with a minute left. Like, that basically sealed the game. He also had the scoop layup around Gobert with 2 minutes left. That made it a 5-point game again. He had a couple other buckets in a row in the fourth quarter. Like, Luka kind of saved his buckets, right? That's 4 buckets that he made in the fourth quarter. He kind of saved all of them for the end.
Yeah, 11 points, 5 of 10 in the fourth quarter. I thought he was just, his shot selection was much better in that quarter. He got to his spots, and I'm cool with the mid-range jumpers. The mid-range jumpers I haven't liked from him so far this season are those 17-foot, step back long twos that I just don't think are very good shots to begin with. But he had a nice little baseline fadeaway against Jaden McDaniels. That's his shot. Had a tough, fadeaway at the free throw line. That's a shot we've seen him hit time and time again. Then that classic. I mean, you knew that three. That's what's crazy is you knew that three was going in the moment it left his hands. Like, you knew it. It was just classic.
In that
8 from 3 or 0 of 7, whatever he was up until that shot that he was going to hit that one. I mean, he's the biggest troll in the league.
God, you have to just hate him so bad. If you're a season ticket holder in Minnesota, you're like, yes, you've sucked this game, which he didn't suck, but it's like, I'm picturing like a fan there and like, oh, you're talking to the refs, all this stuff. And then he hits that shot and he yells at all of us. And it's like, I hate him. I hate him so much. But yeah, I mean, as soon as he let go of it, it's like, all right, well, This
Yeah,
is
well,
deja vu again.
You're probably sitting there going, at least it's not going to be Luka that beats us this time. Because he tried that same 3 against Gobert, same exact spot, ISO'd on him. He tried the same exact play and it missed. And then later he hit that crazy 3 from 32 feet, which was just wild. Coming up, let's get into Luka and the injury scare. The Luka boo-boo that got all of us. What do we think about that? What are the updates from that? We'll talk about him. And then we got to get into the rest of this roster because a bunch of guys made some absolute great plays. We'll talk about that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off your first purchase. Go check it out, see what is available for you. There's all kinds of stuff at Game Time. They have the Game Time picks. Their curation makes it easier for you to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Go check it out, see what is there. I always like to just go to Game Time, especially when I'm doing this ad read, and check out all the different kinds of sporting events and hear what is happening around. Rockets at Mavs on Halloween, Thursday. Tickets are $13 on Game Time. Go check that one out. Tyler, the Creator, coming to American Airlines. The Blackhawks playing the Stars. You got Gunna coming into town playing the Southside Ballroom. That should be fun. Casey Musgraves. See all the different kind of things that you can get on Game Time. And take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Check the QR code if you're watching this to find all the different ways to follow us, to support the show, to become a Locked On Mavs insider, to get text straight to your phone, to get our newsletter. We've got to beat the Sacramento Kings newsletter. Like the Locked On Kings cannot have the most subs.
This dude put out a song saying that like Bagley was better than Luka. So
he did. Shout out to him.
Is that him?
That's him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our Locked On Kings guy.
Wow.
Also, I thought
shout out to Matt George.
I thought during ad breaks it muted us. I'm just over here like chilling, coughing.
No, Isaac's just coughing and going like carrying on.
Sorry, everyone. Everyone watching from their hospital beds and Kev.
There are people that watch from their hospital bed, and I hope you get healed soon.
Get better, bro.
Isaac will come pray for you. All right, guys, let's get back into this game. Mavs win 120 to 114. It's like a magic thing, right? Isn't it like a mist? Like
you're digging the hole deeper now.
No, Benny Hinn told me that if you
don't put me in the same category as Benny Hinn. Please do not.
Aren't you the guys with the gold dust and like the feathers?
You're acting like he's a halftime performer.
The halftime shows have been getting weirder and weirder.
Yeah, I mean, Benny Hinn could come to halftime. All right, let's get back to the game.
Isaac will be out there by 2027.
I'll be out there.
Is this basically the same as the Simon Says guy, right?
Shut up. Get into the freaking next Luka's boo-boo on his knee. Were y'all really like got by this? Because
yes, I was
100%.
Well, I'm just like in the camp of like everything. I even texted.
You weren't worried at all. So Luka gets hit in the back by Jaden McDaniels. He goes up for a foul, and then he grabs the back of his knee and he's limping, and he doesn't go back down on defense, which was not like a crazy indicator for Luka. Then they throw the ball back to him. He gets a layup while he's still limping around. Then he limps straight to the locker room. It was amazing that he got that layup. He didn't even like leave his feet. Like he just literally threw the ball up, no legs at all. He's holding his right knee going straight to the locker room. You weren't worried at all, like not 1 second.
I mean, a little bit, but it's like we've seen this for 7 years of like, I mean, how many times have we like, dude, did he just snap his elbow? Did he tear this? And it's like, dude, just like throwing up 30 footers the next play. It's kind of like Daniel Gafford. He's kind of rubbing off on Daniel Gafford. How many times have we seen Daniel Gafford? I'm like, dude, is this season over? Going back to since we traded for him.
We saw the beginning of the second quarter. He limped to the locker room and then he came back like 4 minutes later.
I just wasn't like, I wasn't praying during that that halftime break there. So I just expected him to be. I kind of just expected him to be fine every time now.
I was definitely scared. I was Googling pain in the back of the knee. We got a Baker's cyst pop up. I was like, I don't know. That could maybe be what's happening here, a Baker's cyst. But I was definitely worried, man. I mean, Derek Jones Jr. did that a lot last year, too, where he would just start limping up the floor. And it's like, what happened to Derek this time? Like, that's just eventually what you would say. But that would look spooky. I mean, the back of the knee, I don't know. Straight to the locker room, I was worried.
I was concerned. I was definitely holding my breath. I texted all the Locked On Mavs insiders that I was like, all right, we just wait and hold our breath until Luka comes back and we get an update. And I wasn't going to make any guesses because it could be anything. Like a knee could be anything. I literally thought could be a contusion, could be an ACL, like literally could be any of those things. But he comes back, he warms up, and he just has a wrap around his leg, and then he hits a 30-footer. And at the end of this game, it hits two like really clutch jumpers.
It was the start of the third quarter was bad for him. Like, and not just, he's missing some shots. I thought the shots he was taking, the decision making, the angry foul baiting that he was doing at the start of the third quarter.
Tech.
And it was, the tech was terrible. From what I saw from the angle they showed, I didn't see what he said or anything, but I thought that tech was incredibly soft.
Very soft.
Either way, I thought he was playing some pretty destructive basketball, all things considered, in that stretch. And the Mavericks lost the lead over that course, or the lead shrunk tremendously. I don't know if the Timberwolves came all the way back, but he picked it up in the fourth quarter, though, and made plays when he needed to. That's for sure. Is that a hit piece?
Almost counts this one. He struggled to shoot, and maybe he was coming back into rhythm, and maybe the injury like shook him a little bit. But it was just. I just wish sometimes that he would just play basketball, like just make the shots. Like you see him hit those two mid-range shots in a row in the fourth quarter, you go, do that, do that play. Or he stands in the corner and is kind of a decoy, and then all of a sudden he gets the ball. Gobert gets switched out on him, and then he drives in for a scoop play. Like do that kind of stuff instead of trying to grift and bait these fouls all the time. It is kind of frustrating to watch at times because you know what he's capable of, and you've seen at other times in this game him like pull off stuff that would be helpful for this team, and then instead he's going for another foul against Jaden and trying to get him out of the game.
Let me win over some fans here. If they call a foul and give him some calls, then if they get off of it.
They were calling They were calling a bunch of touch fouls in this game. Like just it felt like anything that was a touch was a foul, and then Luka wasn't getting them. And so we've gone over this 100 times on this show. I understand his frustration with the way that the refs called the game against the Suns. Like all the Timberwolves would have fouled out if that ref crew called this game. Right, like the way that they were touching up the Mavs, and so you just see the two differences of how refs call games, and it just drives Luka insane.
Especially when there's certain officiating crews who like guys on the perimeter play more physically than guys inside. So I definitely, and this is a physical Timberwolves defense on the perimeter. They got Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo. Those guys are good perimeter defenders who get handsy and they play physical at the point of attack. So I definitely get the frustrations for sure. I will say though, the free throw thing, of course, Luka always should shoot 10 plus free throws a game. I mean, that kind of comes with the territory. You could say the same thing about Jokic, LeBron in his prime, the same exact thing where those guys should have been shooting way more free throws than they did. I will say,
you gave Isaac an opportunity to not say something positive about LeBron.
But early in the game, I thought Luka was just settling for tough jumpers a bunch, and you're not going to get a lot of calls that way, So it was the thing I will always. I mean, I think Luka's the best player on the planet, and the thing that I love the most about Luka is he's an absurd competitor, and when the moment is big, it doesn't matter what he's shooting in the game. It doesn't matter how many turnovers, how many missed shots, whatever the case may be. He wants the ball in his hands, and he's going to make a play. So that's what you saw tonight. I mean, that's why he's an incredible player.
He's frustrated. He knows this isn't his best basketball right now, and you can see it on the floor. It's coming out through the complaining and some of the foul baiting and stuff, and he's wanting to call. He's not getting some of the calls that he normally does. You go to some of the kids said post game, and this is my biggest thing with officiating in general is consistency. And kids said post game about how physical the game was, and we're just trying to figure out. He said we're just trying to figure out how the game's going to be called, and it feels like every time you're just. A game tips off and it's like, all right, is this going to be ticky-tack foul night or is this going to be rugby? And you just don't know. And it's confusing for us as fans, but it has to be even more confusing as a player when one night, I mean, literally, and Luka said this after the game, and I want to point this out too. This was an incredible win because I mean, we were in the arena last night leaving at 11 o'clock, and the team was just Kyrie was talking to the media in his locker room. They get on a plane, they get to Minnesota early hours of the morning this morning, and then they have a not like a 7:30 or 8, or 8 or a 9 tip. This is a 6:30 tip off, and you play a good team like Minnesota, and they win.
Who had
this
2
game.
days off and had been at home for a week basically.
Yeah, so I thought it was cool that Luka was like, "Hey, people, some people might not understand how big of a win this is, but this is a huge win for us. And I agree. This is what you would call a schedule loss. And they didn't accept that. It was a win.
Well, for all the negative we've talked about, this is a great win for the Mavericks. You absolutely take this and you run with it. And a win for sure. And it goes back to the Mavs don't need Luka to be Superman or to be insane to win these games. They need him to hit a couple of clutch buckets. They need to play really good defense. They need their role players to do some stuff like they did. We'll talk about them. Kyrie carried them on offense, which was awesome. Klay didn't even have the best game. 2 of 7 from 3. Only 7 points for Klay Thompson in this one, the least amount he's had as a Maverick. But yeah, this is a win you'll take, and a win that's like strength in numbers win, it felt like, for the Mavs. Yeah.
And then you just say to yourself, Luka's coming. He's going to have I feel like this might have got him going, where it's like, all right, I'm Luka Doncic. Let's play basketball. I'm ready to go. And when he gets going,
just dropped 40 on the Suns.
I know, but we said that. We said after the game, like that was like I'm hitting all my jumpers game from Luka. When Luka is really going and scoring and getting to wherever he wants on the court and getting to the rim, it is a different. There's nobody in the league like him.
Is any of this because he didn't play preseason, or is anybody putting any stock in that?
I'll put some stock in that.
I don't know. Sure. I don't know what's the stock in. I just know if Joe Ingles played more, he had some solid minutes tonight. 4 minutes with 1 assist. So
Luka took it right to Joe Ingles for one of those shots. Like immediately as soon as it got switched onto him, I was like, "Ooh, that seemed like a mistake." Coming up, let's get into the rest of these role players. Guys had some big impact on this game. PJ Washington, 17 points for him. The bigs, Lively and Gafford got it really kick-started. We'll talk about them and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac. All right, Slightly. Let's get into the rest of this game. I want to start with PJ Washington. Started the game, 32 minutes, 17 points, 8 boards, 4 offensive rebounds in that. 3 assists. He had a steal and I thought, played a really good game and just so impactful. He's been very impactful for this Mavericks team in the first couple of games, Slightly.
Yeah, PJ has been phenomenal, especially the last couple of games. Defensively, why are you guys laughing?
I'm laughing
Isaac was taking a drink, so I was giving him a chance to finish the drink by sending it to Slightly, and then
I didn't care anything about my drink. I just thought you said you weren't fair to Slightly because you just like finished this big sentence and you're like, yeah, and PJ and Slightly.
I was just handing it off to him for him to talk about PJ.
That was a quick hand.
No, PJ's been really good defensively. He was great, and I think one of the adjustments they made tonight was putting PJ on Anthony Edwards later in the game, and that kind of answered a lot of questions that we had with what this defense would look like and stuff. But yeah, PJ has been really, really good to start this season. Offensively, we just kind of been waiting for some shots to drop for him, and we will feel the same way about Najee Marshall, who had a great steal in this game late. When the shots start dropping and the points start coming, then you're going to realize like, oh, this guy's been playing good basketball all season long. And it's just, we get kind of blinded by some of the shooting numbers and stuff. But yeah, PJ was incredible tonight again. Great 48 hours for him. 24 hours, I guess.
Isaac. Yeah, he shot 50% from 3. I thought they made an effort to get him going early in that Utah game the night before. And then, you need these guys to step up, right? Like you talked about Klay only having 7 points in this game. It's like, all right, well, if Luka is going to be air quote here off and, Kyrie's getting buckets, you got to have somebody else. And this is where PJ, stepped up tonight having those 17 points. So I thought that was big. And speaking of hitting shots and looking better, I thought your boy Quentin Grimes,
let's go,
had some moments tonight.
Quentin Grimes, 12 minutes, hit 3 threes, kind of all in a row. He can get hot, and he's a good shooter. Like you get him in the right spot, and I thought that they would bring him in and have him guard Anthony Edwards when Edwards really started going. I was like, all right, it's either Najee or Grimes that they'll try to bring in because those are their 2 answers. If a guy's really going off on that's a guard or a smaller wing, those are your 2 options to come off the bench to try something different on him, right?
Yeah, I like Quentin Grimes, and I wasn't with you in your stance that he's going to be the most impactful guy, but I do think that by the end of the season, he will have a solidified role in this rotation because he has a skill set the Mavericks desperately need.
He's a two-way player,
man. He'll be inconsistent. He'll have games where he's 0 of 3 from 3. Like, it's going to happen. But he'll have games where he makes threes. We talked about how quick his shot is before the season started. What was it, the 4th quickest shot in the NBA? Whatever that stat was.
So fast.
He gets up there. I mean, it's fast. It is lightning. You know, I was watching the Cavs game last night because George Niang was number 1, wasn't he? Or something like that. I need to see how they calculate this. I was paying attention to it, and I was like, Sam Merrill feels like he has a faster shot.
I mean, the Klay no like leg bend shot of like catch up top, shoot.
No dip. Yeah,
I don't see how he does it.
I mean, the crazy one on the no dip. It's one thing when you shoot this is coming from a shooter like myself. When you shoot the no dip in rhythm off a catch, it's one thing. He'll catch it, do a little hesitation, and then go like that's such a hard shot.
So you and Klay both keep your elbow in so well, and on your form right there, that's what.
Yeah, that must be the secret. Me and Klay should share notes.
You should do the Klay dribble when you're wide open. Do the one dribble and then take a shot to recenter yourself, or do you think Klay should stop doing that as a shooter?
You know, if I'm giving my advice to Klay Thompson, I'm sure he's listening. Maybe just go in rhythm, man. Maybe ditch the dribble. I
can't do the dribble in a moment like that. It throws me off. I can't.
I would agree actually, but you know,
I know we joked about it earlier, but Rudy Gobert out there, I mean, Daniel Gafford was just like consistently beating him down the floor. And I wouldn't say Gafford is, in any 800-meter contest. So it's like,
he was a wide receiver.
It's just like, I don't know. It's just a weird, I know there's so much, like there's all these different groups in the like Rudy Gobert discourse. And I don't know what group I'm in. It's just weird seeing him out there and seeing guys consistently beat him at times. And I'm like, what are you on the floor? Like, what are you doing? But yet sometimes people throw out numbers and show you how, I don't know. He's just a confusing player for me.
I think you can game plan against him, right? Especially if you have a Luka that can, and so I think if you can game plan against a guy and if your team can execute that, it does seem kind of weird sometimes when you go, oh, this guy's the most impactful defender in the NBA. And yet in games like this, they're better with him off. That he was a -8 in this game,
and nobody likes him, like around the league too. It's that's part of the pylon,
right? That's part of the pylon.
Yeah.
Same with the Westbrook stuff right now. It's like feels like everybody's piling on Westbrook because they don't like him for different reasons. But yeah, Gafford. I mean, the first play of the game, Gafford got a hook shot right over Gobert, and you go, oh, that's the 4-time defensive player of the year. Gafford, like you said, beat him down in transition beat him down the floor a couple times in transition.
Just like Rudy, that was happening to Rudy. He looks over and sees Spencer Dinwiddie check in. And he's like, crap, you yammed on me in the playoffs. Then he looks at and he sees Luka again. It's like, dude, you've like consistently torched me, and especially in the playoffs last year. It just brings all the nightmares. Slightly is a big Rudy fan. I want to hear him.
The play that I don't understand about Gobert is at 7:40 in the second quarter, he tried to drive against Dereck Lively, who had been stopping Julius Randle over and over again. He turns it over, and Kyrie gets a 3 in transition. Like, it was just a weird decision. Like, drive. Why would you drive there?
Rudy is such a weird player, and I don't think Mavs fans have the right, because the Mavs own this guy. They're not scared of him at all. That's the thing is you see Gafford, they open up the game. Gafford's going right into his chest, little post hook over Gobert. Like, there's zero fear of Gobert, and he is a complete and total zero offensively. And this is a good enough Mavericks team where in the clutch, the Mavericks are probably going to score points. If you have, like, I'm not talking a Najee Marshall or a PJ where it's like, man, maybe we can sag off this guy. I'm talking this guy is terrible on offense. Don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking Rudy Gobert is he is a horrendous offensive basketball player. He is terrible. He catches lobs. Every 7-footer in the league catches lobs. Take a look around. All of them do it.
John Hollinger voted him number 2 MVP.
When did he do that?
Like 4 years ago?
With the Jazz?
Yeah.
We're required to defend Rudy Gobert because of who our boss is.
Are we?
He's a really good player, but he just struggles against this Mavs team.
He does.
He always kind of has.
And so you see the worst version of him, I think, every time the Mavs face him because of Luka.
Listen, you know what? What I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like the beginning of the game, and like they're like breaking their like pre-tip off huddle, and Luka's like, Gaff, we're going to you first play, and I want you to score on him. I just want to make a point. Like I can see Luka just doing that. He's like, he sucks. He's terrible. So I want you to just do a post move on him.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to the Mavs' physicality. Honestly, they're not afraid of it. It's the same thing with Jaden McDaniels. Like if you only watch Mavs versus Timberwolves games, you would think Jaden McDaniels is just some run of the mill 3-and-D guy, maybe. Instead, he's sort of billed as this premier perimeter defender who's making $30 million a year.
Wild.
He's not that guy against the Mavs.
Lively, I thought, had a good game in this one. I mentioned it before, but Julius Randle tried to drive on him like 3 or 4 times, just one-on-one versus Lively. The Mavs sent no help, and Lively stopped him a couple times, got a turnover against him, and then one of them, Lively, fouled him with just like a little chicken wing, like arm. But Julius Randle kept trying to go past Lively, and he couldn't, man. Like that to me said a lot about Lively's growth defending out in space has been awesome.
Yeah, he's been so good this year. He might make an all-defensive team.
What about when Ant had the ISO on him? Yeah, I think it was the 4th.
Oh,
and he couldn't get past him, and then he tried to do a couple pump fakes and had to pass it to the corner. I was like, yes, hook
like
that to my veins right there. That's the progression for Lively. And I thought there was a stretch there in the second half where I'm like, you just changed the game just with your presence and energy and everything. And yeah, he's so good. He's going to be so good.
That's what we said before the season. Like a lively leap won't necessarily be, oh, he's taking 2 threes a game now or whatever. Yeah. It'll just be he's just getting better and more comfortable as a defender, and then you really feel it. Like he's been, when he's on the court, the defense is incredible.
He had 5 points. Like if you look at his box score, 5 points, 9 boards, 4 fouls, 3 steals, and a block. You'd be like, okay, that it's an okay game, but you don't feel that impact if you just look at a box score like that. Speaking of a box score, Spencer Dinwiddie, 18 minutes, 105 from 3, and that was all the shots that he took. Had a couple of assists, had a couple of rebounds, had a steal. But Spencer Dinwiddie now getting the backup guard minutes that Jaden Hardy got the first couple of games. Now we're 4 games in. Jaden Hardy got most of them the first 2 games. Dinwiddie got him the second 2 games. What do you think about Dinwiddie's minutes tonight?
It's all you slightly.
I thought he was fine tonight. I think that he's been better than Hardy in their 2 games that they've each played. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
I refuse to do anything with the rotation until like game 12 now.
It's tough. It's tough.
Trying to figure out what Jason Kidd's doing with the rotation stuff. I thought that the moment that Dinwiddie got off the bench the night before when they're playing the Jazz in Dallas, and he was the first person to the scores table, and then Lively followed him. I'm like, of course he is. He hasn't played the first 2 games. I'm like, Kidd's just messing with people. Then he threw Omax in there.
Yeah,
it's like, all right,
3 minutes.
Ones.
Now we're really
like, what?
Kidd's just flexing on like, yeah, Utah, you're gonna suck this year. So I'm gonna test out a bunch of things. He played 12 players in the first 13 minutes against Utah. It's like, all right,
that's crazy.
What is this? The first quarter of the first game of the year 2 years ago? Like, what is this?
Kind of preseason.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
You remember that one where everybody played?
Yep.
Yeah.
Was that was a regular season game?
Yes, it was the first game of the year.
It was the tribal council or whatever they called it.
The leadership council. The leadership council,
baby.
The tribal council is amazing.
They all voted that all 15 would play.
Or Dwight was on it. Tim was on it. Tim also, when we were talking earlier, Tim was a guy that if he fell and hit his head at all, he was really slow to get up the court. Like just
y'all have to remind me. I will ask Jason Kidd, who's on the leadership council. Coming up sometime
it's
soon.
Luka, Kyrie, and Klay. Come on. I mean, who else is going to Markeith, maybe?
I know that's what.
Oh, Keith's on there.
You just named 4 people. So
Luka,
Dwight's not
Keith,
on
and
there?
Dwight would actually be my guess.
Oh, see? Let's see.
Klay didn't want on it.
I'll ask him sometime. We'll see if McMahon will ask him.
There you go, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on the post-game show. Check the QR code for a bunch of ways to follow us, to get our newsletter. We got to pass the Sacramento Kings host, and we got to pass Locked On Kings and most subscribers. So subscribe to our newsletter. Get text straight to your phone on Mavs rumors and news and more on there as well. We'll be back tomorrow with more Locked On Mavs, and we'll cover all the games here every single day. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.
Reggie Marshall.
Dude, that steal late on Ant.
Great steal.
Clutch.